So I've been a predominant Android user for over a decade now. And in that time frame, I've had 25 Android smartphones, starting with the Sanyo Zayo way back. Almost switched to iOS with the iPhone 5, but the Galaxy S3 caught my attention, and I've rocked with Samsung ever since. However, recently, Samsung has started to rub me the wrong way. Pause. For various reasons, but that's a video for another day. I actually just traded in my S22 Ultra for the 14 Pro, and it's been pretty good so far. I'll link that review below. But one of the most significant differences I'm noticing is in the software. Apple is an absolute beast at crafting software when it comes to animations and fluidity, or just releasing fully baked features. You just don't find experimental features in iOS, just features that work exceptionally well. And Apple has recently started adding many prominent Android features and then implementing them in their own Apple-ish way. Stuff like the app library or lock screen customization and the always-on display. And aside from the AOD, I actually like the way Apple has been implementing these features. But even still, iOS is not as robust as Android, specifically when it comes to customization. And before we jump in, this is not a video bashing iOS by any means. These are simply features that I wish that iOS had. And I'll be making a video for the other way around, so make sure you get subscribed and turn on notifications so you don't miss that when it drops. And with that said, here are 10 Android features that I wish iOS had. And some of them will be specific to Samsung because, let's be honest, One UI outdoes Android in many ways. So first things first, the Edge panel. I find this to be such a valuable feature for several reasons. One, it allows your favorite contacts to be a simple swipe and a tap away, but it also does the same for your favorite apps, folders, or even app pairs, where you can assign a pair of apps to launch side by side in split screen. So I just use it for my favorite contacts, and I put all my most frequently used app folders over there, just so it frees up my home screen for my wallpaper or for some widgets. And there's more that you can do with the Edge panel besides the two ways that I use it. There's Smart Select, which allows you to take a screenshot and then pin it to the screen, or Tasks, which are shortcuts to everyday functions within system apps like adding an alarm or creating a contact. And another good one is having your clipboard just to swipe away instead of having to open the keyboard first. So yeah, it's an absolute everyday, all day feature for me. So drop a comment and let me know if you think this is a valuable feature that you would use, and let me know which panels you would rock with. Feature number 2 is icon theming. And yes, I know you can go through and individually change the icon for each app, but that just takes an unnecessarily long amount of time to do. iOS needs built-in icon theming, or at the very least, a way to update all icons just by simply applying an icon pack. Samsung added complete device themes and icon themes with the Galaxy S6 in 2015. And now Android 13 is capable of pulling up to 16 sets of colors from your wallpaper and then applying them to the UI and the icons themselves. And that's up from 4 color combinations in Android 12. This would obviously save a ton of time, and I'm sure many more people would actually customize their iPhones in this way. And feature number 3 is what Samsung calls dynamic lock screen. Essentially, Samsung has 10 categories of wallpapers curated to a specific theme like landscapes, art, or animals. So you can have up to 5 chosen categories, which are updated every 2 weeks. Every time you wake your phone to your lock screen, it's a new wallpaper based on the categories you've selected. Now, I know in iOS 16, you can create multiple lock screens manually, but this is a little bit different and a lot more convenient when it comes to keeping your lock screen feeling fresh. I rock with the landscapes, plants, life, art, and special categories, and I'm literally never disappointed. And feature number 4 is customizable lock screen shortcuts. And again, yes, I know that in iOS 16, you can add widgets to the lock screen, which can simply be shortcuts to a minimal list of apps, but obviously, that's not ideal. For the longest time, Apple has had 2 shortcuts on the lock screen that cannot be changed: the flashlight on the left and the camera on the right. Samsung, on the other hand, has allowed these to be set to whichever app you choose for quite some time now. I think Apple ought to enable the customization of those apps, which would then free up more space in the new widget area of the lock screen. On my Fold 4, I have the Vivint app on the left and YouTube Music on the right, so I can quickly jump into those right from the lock screen. Now, drop a comment and let me know which apps you would have on your lock screen if iOS let you change them. And since we're on the topic of lock screens, I may as well mention the always on display as feature number 5. As I mentioned in my 14 Pro review, Apple's AOD is a bit of a double-edged sword for me because it's an excellent implementation in terms of the continuity between it and your lock screen. It's just your lock screen dimmed a bit and you've probably spent time decking out your lock screen. But on the flip side, it's just a bit too bright and battery intensive. When I had it on, there were several times throughout any given day when I thought the screen may have been on due to the excessive brightness. You see, Androids have had always on displays for quite a while now, and I would describe them as a proper always on display. AODs on Androids display the time, notification, and perhaps a small image if you so choose. And not only that, but on Samsung devices, you can choose between auto brightness and manually adjusting the brightness. And then taking that a step further, you can even set it to display on tap, display all the time, display via a set schedule, or simply for new notifications. I find this to be another situation where Apple is trying to be just a little bit too different at the expense of the user experience. Now, drop a comment and let me know if you still have your AOD on, because I've turned mine off. Now, I've got to go with home screen customization for feature number 6. Obviously, with iOS 14, Apple added widgets to the home screen, which is excellent, but I think they can take it a step further. On Android, first of all, the home screen grid itself is customizable, allowing you to decide how many icons can fit on your home screen. Second of all, Android home screens use a free-flowing grid, so you can choose to place an app or widget wherever you please on the home screen instead of everything automatically sorting to the top of every page. Especially as phones have gotten larger, it's not very conducive to the idea of reachability, which Samsung and Android have so eloquently mastered. If anything, apps should sort to the bottom of the display. And another thing that falls under the home screen customization umbrella is the ability to move or delete multiple apps from the home screen simultaneously. As it stands, it is such a tedious process to have to do it individually. Samsung devices allow you to move or delete multiple apps simultaneously, which just makes the process so much more intuitive. And once again, I feel like this is Apple being too stubborn about being different at the expense of the user experience, which is just silly. All right, now pivoting to feature number 7, keyboard customization. Now, it is relatively minor, but hear me out. So each key on Samsung's keyboard shows the letter, but it also offers a symbol you can access through a long press. Again, it's kind of minor, but it alleviates you from having to tap the symbols icon first and then select a symbol. I'm actually really surprised that this is not a thing. It does give the keyboard a much cleaner look, but still, come on. And then one more thing regarding keyboard customization. On Samsung devices, through the Good Lock app, you're able to customize the color of keys, or you can have an effect each time you tap the keys, things of that nature. And of course, that's not necessary, but it's cool. Oh yeah, last thing. And it would be very nice if we could have a numbers row. I don't know why that's not even an option, but I would definitely have that, as I always have on my Samsung phones. Now, feature number 8 is side key customization. As it currently stands in iOS 16, the side key is for turning the display on and off through a single press, launching Apple Pay through a double press, and then launching Siri through a press and hold. And I have no problem with those shortcuts. But on Android, however, a long-standing feature of the side key is the ability to remap the button to launch any app of your choosing. And yes, I'm familiar with back tap, which is a really useful feature that can tackle quickly opening the camera, for example. But to use it to open any other app, you first have to create a shortcut in the Shortcuts app. Ultimately, it's not that big of a deal, but the average user may not be familiar with shortcuts. I think Apple should add the ability to choose an app or a shortcut or any of the other system settings that are currently available. But in any case, drop a comment and let me know if you use back tap and what you use it for. And also let me know if you actually are using shortcuts. All right, now feature number 9 is a Samsung specific feature, and it's the ability to open an app in pop-up view. Basically, there's 2 ways to launch this. The first way is by swiping diagonally from either corner, as if you're literally grabbing the corner of an app that you have open and shrinking it down to a floating app window, just as you would resize a window in macOS or Windows. The second way is using the edge panel or a taskbar if you're using a foldable to press and hold an app and drag it to the center of the screen, and then voila, pop-up view. As I'm sure you can imagine, this is an incredibly useful feature when it comes to multitasking. One of my use cases for it is, for example, if I need the calculator open while I'm also looking at some information I'm calculating. It just makes multitasking a little bit easier. And then last but not least, feature number 10 is swiping from either side to go back from anywhere in the UI. I know you can swipe to go back from the left side in a lot of areas of the UI, but not everywhere. For example, if you're in Instagram and you open a link in an external browser, the swipe to go back function just ceases to work. In that case, you have to use the back button in the top left corner of the display to go back to Instagram. I feel like that's just bad user experience. On Android, swiping from either side of the display always takes you back to the previous screen anywhere in the UI. Now, before I bow out, I have two honorable mentions. First is stylus support. I think it would be sick if Apple made an Apple Pencil Mini and then a case to go along with it. Obviously, someone may still need to sign a document, but may not have an iPad. And the second honorable mention is data transfer beyond the initial setup. Now, obviously, this is not a feature that would be used regularly, but as it currently stands, you can only transfer all your data from an Android during the initial setup of your new iPhone. Samsung has the Smart Switch app, which allows you to transfer data at any point after the initial setup. So kind of minor, but it would still be nice. Now, with all that being said, again, I hope this doesn't come across as a video bashing iOS. Certainly not what I'm going for here. But I am very curious to know if any of you iPhone users found any of these features useful and if there's something that you would use. So definitely drop a comment and let me know. And for you Android users, my next video is going to be 10 iOS features that I wish Android had. So buckle up, make sure you get subscribed and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Alrighty guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace and love.